Hi, I'm Norm Abram. Welcome to the New Yankee Workshop. Today we're going to build a special dollhouse. It's one that can be enjoyed by the boys as well as the girls and the adults as well as the children. I'll show you what I mean in a minute, right here on the New Yankee Workshop. Today we find ourselves in New Ipswich, New Hampshire, at the site of the Barrett House, built in 1800. It's one of the finest examples of Federal-style architecture in all of New England. It's owned and operated by the Society for the Preservation of New England Antiquities. Let's take a look inside. Isn't this great? Now, the Society opens the property to the public from June to mid-October for a small admission fee. Give yourself a good part of a day to check out the grounds, the rooms, and take a look at the furnishings. Now, I have to be disciplined today, so I'm going to go right up to the third floor and show you the antique toy collection. Oh, it's so hard to walk by my favorite piece of furniture on this floor, that glorious Chippendale chest on chest. But come on, the toys are in the attic. Up here is where the children lived and played, often only steps away from their nanny, who also lived up here. And let me show you the toys in this room. Look at this steamer chest, all set up for the dolly to take a trip. And Rollo the horse, he's over 100 years old. Here's one of the doll houses in the room. The architectural style is Second Empire. The mansard roof reminds me very much of the houses in the Back Bay of Boston. It's very highly decorated on the outside and on the inside. Painted floors and wallpaper on every wall. No furnishings. Quite the contrast to the one across the room, which is very plain on the outside, has no real architectural style, but it's gloriously furnished. 3 rooms in the attic, and if I open the front, you can see 6 rooms. This one has painted furniture set up as a bedroom. Down below is a parlor with Empire furniture and even an oriental rug. The center hall has a runner that goes up the stair, and this room over here has bentwood furniture, familiar to the Victorians. And these French bisque porcelain dolls, I'm told they're quite rare. There's some good ideas here. Coming up with a design for a dollhouse for the New Yankee Workshop was a real challenge. I had to think long and hard. Here's what I've come up with. Recognize it? You should. It's a true 1/16th model of the New Yankee Workshop. You have a New Yankee Workshop sign, sliding door that leads into the workshop. You can even see some lumber leaning up against the wall. Now, we've designed this for everyone to have fun. If you take off this front roof, you can see into the workshop. There's a workbench, some shavings. You can imagine building all those New Yankee Workshop projects that we've done over the years. If you travel up the stairs at the end of the workshop to an area we don't show you on TV, you'll find a room, a sitting room that we've furnished with shaker furniture. This floor is removable, so you can get down to the lower area where we've set up a kitchen. And if I spin it around a little more, you can see that we've even provided a place for the family car. This project is made mostly from plywood, but not just any plywood. I need one that's good on both sides and has a solid core, because occasionally an edge will show. Now, this is a birch plywood manufactured in, of all places, Russia. It's in the metric format, but in our inches, this would be a full sheet, 60 inches by 60 inches, and just a fraction under a ½ inch thick. Now, before we cut anything, I want to take a moment to talk about shop safety. Be sure to read, understand, and follow all the safety rules that come with your power tools. Knowing how to use your power tools properly will greatly reduce the risk of personal injury. And remember this, there is no more important safety rule than to wear these safety glasses. Now, to get started, I want to cut one strip out of this sheet big enough for the base of our model. Here's my homemade panel cutter, perfect for cross-cutting large pieces to length. The first thing I want to do is square one end. Now I'll flip it, measure it for length, and cut it. Right outside the paint shop, I need to cut out a bit of the floor of the model. So I've clamped the piece at the workbench, laid out the area to be removed. I'm going to use a small circular saw and a square to help guide me to make the crosscuts. To make the cut along the grain of the plywood, I'm going to loosen the knob on my saw that holds the base. Position the saw over the line, and then slowly plunge it through the material. Here's a piece of plywood for the back wall of the shop. At the top edge, it's beveled to meet the slope of the roof. I'll cut that first. I've tilted the table saw blade to 30 degrees and adjusted the rip fence for the correct height. Now I've adjusted the rip fence to make the beveled cut where the roof steps down over the workshop. It's the same pitch. That's all the cross cut I can get with the table saw. I'll finish the rest of it by hand. These cuts in the back wall form the roof line over the garage. I've just made 2 angle cuts using just my miter gauge, and this will form the gable at the kitchen. The next wall I want to make is this little short wall which extends into the building to help support the floor. The first pass is at a 30-degree angle, and that gives me the slope to pick up the roof. Look at the floor for a second. The piece I've been working on has to be notched so it'll fit up over the floor. Good. Here I'm removing part of the bevel, the part that goes under the second floor. This is the piece that forms the south side of the building. This piece, which has several cuts, makes the room divider between the shop and the other rooms. That cut completes 2 gables, the end of the workshop and the gable way down on the other end. The sides of the model are joined to the floor with a rabbet joint. I make that joint over at the table saw using my stacked dado head cutter. Using the same saw setup that I used to rabbet the bottom edge, I'm rabbeting one side of each corner. There are several dados in the walls milled with the same dado head setup because the width and depth are the same. One in the garage wall for this short partition, one in this short wall for the south side. The partition between the shop and the living space has a long dado. The north wall actually has 2. One for the intersection of the partition between the shop and the living space, and another one up at the front edge for this gable. All right, with all the pieces dry fitted together, that looks pretty good. Now for the window and door openings. Well, I've just cut a window opening that represents this window, which faces west from the workshop. To cut all the window and door openings, I've made a template from 1/4-inch plywood with a variety of sizes. To actually cut the opening, I'm using a router bit with a ball bearing that's above the cutter. The ball bearing rides on the template, and the cutter does all the work. Well, it took me almost 2 hours last night after you left to make the remaining window and door openings with the various templates and my router. This morning I spent some time sanding the inside surfaces, and now I'm ready to start assembly. All I really need is some glue at each joint, and I'll hold it all together with some 1-inch brads. These cleats will support the second floor. I've prefabbed all the pieces that will make up the stair platform and the plywood storage bin. The first piece I'll put in is this small vertical partition. Next is this piece, which is one side of the plywood storage bin, and it goes up against this cleat, which supports the stair platform. Now the other side of the plywood bin here's the small deck. It's a great place to put those small bits of wood we find here in the shop. This is the stair platform deck, and it gets a railing. Okay, this is where that goes. Now let's build a flight of stairs. Here's a piece of 3/4-inch stock that I've laid out the stair pattern on. I'll be able to get 2 stringers from this piece. One of the stringers I glue and nail to the wall. The other gets nailed to the rail wall. Once this rail wall is nailed in place, I'm ready for some treads. I think nails might split these pieces if they're close to the ends, and besides that, I can't even get my gun in there. But a dab of hot glue on each end is more than enough. Using my stacked dado head cutter, I've just milled 2 grooves in a piece of stock, which are going to make my corner boards. Now I'll switch to a saw blade and get 1 piece off of each side. That's what they look like. I cut the corners to length at my miter box, and I'll attach them to the model just using a little bit of hot glue. The east roof panel is next. I've beveled both edges where it meets the wall above and at the eave line. Again, with 30-degree bevels at the top and bottom, I can install this little section of the west roof. Now we can start working on the shop roof. Look again at the prototype, and I'll show you how the shop roof is supported. On the back, there's a small cleat that I rabbited at the table saw, and that sits underneath here. On the front, I have a cleat with the same size rabbet, but it has to be wider because I have to notch it around this corner. The top is already cut at a 30-degree bevel, the pitch of the roof. I'll align it with the layout line, mark the location of the corner, and square it up. Okay, that fits good around the corner. Now let's trim it for length, and that should be out to the face of the corner board. Let's see, the angle is 30 degrees. Now I have to rabbet the bottom of this piece so it'll sit over this sidewall. A little adjustment to the rip fence, and I'll raise the blade up to complete the rabbet. The last little piece to remove is this piece right here, where it goes over the front wall. I'll do that by hand. Okay, that fits fine. Some glue and nails. That's the back roof cut to length. Just glue and nails. This is the south side of the roof, and this cleat, which is beveled at 30 degrees, is attached with glue and nails, and it keeps the roof from sliding off the slope. That's good. Now let's trim out the eave line and the gable end. Well, that's one of 3 skylight openings that I have to cut in the north roof. The piece that I just milled at the table saw will join the 2 halves of the second-story roof. The original shop door has a piece of leaded glass for a window. I'm just going to use a piece of plastic for the model, hold it with some hot glue, and trim it out. These little bits of redwood simulate the frame of the actual door. Okay, that takes care of the outside. Now I'll repeat the pattern on the inside. The door slides on a couple tracks. Let me show you how I made those. All right, that's the first pass. Now I'll move the fence over just a little bit and make the groove wider. Now we'll just rip it into 2 pieces. Okay. Well, that takes care of the woodworking. Now for a coat of paint. Well, I sure did find someone to paint it, John Coles, and he did a wonderful job. He got everything just right, from the shingles on the roof, the shingles on the sidewall, the blue trim around all the windows and doors. And on the west end of the shop, he got the gray trim, the clapboard lines, and the door is just right. You know, it looks so good, I'm not so sure I'm willing to let the kids use it yet. But I will let them use this project, our project for next time, a toy storage chest with an inlaid checkerboard on the top, a compartment to store the checkers, and plenty of room inside for the toys. I'll show you how to build it next time right here on the New Yankee Workshop.
More from Norm at 12:30 in This Old House with Steve. Total Fishing is next, though. Stay with us.